Hello folks, it is time for a bit of 40k rantage. And over the past few weeks, we've been talking about lore and how Games Workshop is treating said lore, and also how lore kind of interacts with 10th edition as a game in its entirety. Do you know what I mean? I like that. I like the preamble that we're on right now, so I think we're going to stick with it this week and talk about why Games Workshop never finishes any stories, and why that is. You can probably see from the title that I've got a good inkling on why Games Workshop never finishes any stories, but we'll get into that in a minute. If you like what I do, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and make sure that you like the video if you can't do any of that, because it's one click for you, but it means a lot for me in the old algorithm, right? Cool. Let's jump in, shall we? With Games Workshop. They never finish any stories. But why? Well, one of the main things I love about Warhammer 40,000, of course, is its lore. Don't know if you've noticed, I'm a big lore buff. I like getting into those kinds of things. I don't think it's a secret that I love it, and I mean I dedicate a dozen of hours of my working week each week to researching, cataloguing, and finally doing a 2 or 3 hour deep dive on a subject over a stream. And we do that every single Sunday, so if you want to get along with that, tune in on Sunday night and you can see us go over a specific topic at length. I'd be insane to do that if I didn't actually enjoy it, right? Warhammer 40,000 is totally unique, but not because of the component parts of its setting or the fact that it's a grimdark feudalism setting in space. No. It is unique because it is Warhammer 40,000. I really cannot describe it in any other way, and I wish that I could. 40k has a feel, and I want to put that in capital letters, feel, that no other property or setting gives me. And I'm sure you know what I mean. I can sit there and see 1 or 2 pieces of art, and I'm immediately transported to this setting that I love so much. There is a video out there that shows a picture of an Imperator Titan, you know, like the massive one, and the sound it makes whilst walking and firing its guns. That's it. A picture and a few sounds. It has hundreds of thousands of views, and it sent chills down my spine for the sheer shattered beauty that Warhammer 40,000 represents. It is the gold standard setting for feels, quote unquote. This is why they do so well over Christmas. Christmas is the time of feels, right, where you get nice things. Well, Games Workshop's most busy and profitable time is Christmas. The run-up to Christmas, it is absolutely all backs to the wall job, sort of a thing, right? And there are so many stories that form the tapestry of what Warhammer 40,000 actually is. You can pick up hundreds, perhaps thousands now, of novels and read through the histories and stories of characters from across the Warhammer 40,000 setting. From mysterious and tragic Eldar characters, to fallen Astartes champions, to inept but extremely lucky commissars, there is something for everybody in this setting. And after hearing the same complaint, time after time after time though, I felt the need to make this video. And that complaint is, why do Games Workshop never allow stories to be completed? To that, I have to first say that they have allowed one story to conclude, at least, very badly, in the Horus Heresy. So in seeing that, do we really want Games Workshop to complete stories, or do we want them to give us the seeds that are planted in the ground, and our imaginations can do the rest? To me, that would be the ideal. Have a central line of plot that is getting concluded, and the rest can be characters that are in the setting merely to set your imagination alight. Unfortunately, Games Workshop seem to want to have their cake and to eat it too. They want extremely important characters and stories, and they refuse to just end any of them. But they also want to keep things open-ended so they can keep generating the one thing Games Workshop actually cares about: money. There are too many stories to mention when we look for examples of stories that Games Workshop have introduced and then abandoned and left hanging. But here are some funny examples. And by the way, this list is not extensive. This is literally off the top of my head in 2 minutes, right? Number 1, Clone Grim, right? Very, very, very interesting story. about the clone of Fulgrim who is perfect, who even corrupted Emperor's children feel the need to bow below and get sympathy and forgiveness from. That is a really interesting thing that Games Workshop put into a box, quite literally, and never spoke about ever again. And now that the writer of that story has left Black Library, we probably won't even see it ever again. 2. The Terminus Decree. Yes, the Terminus Decree. The Emperor's Golden Throne is failing. Do they ever bring it up again? No. Does Guilliman even bring it up when he goes and stands in front of his father? No. Does the Emperor bring it up to Guilliman or anybody else around him, using his projections or tarot, that things aren't going well, and maybe you need to fix the damn throne? No. Are we seeing anything that might be hinting towards the Emperor coming back, or the Emperor actually, the story with him moving forward somewhat because you introduced the Terminus Decree to the throne? No. Are the Grey Knights doing anything with the Terminus Decree? They've literally got it. It's right there. They can use it if they want to. No. So why introduce it in the first place? Number 3. Anything Abaddon the Despoiler does ever. Number 4. Anything Vashtor has done since being introduced into the lore. Number 5. A bugbear of mine. Decimus the Greatest Night Lord. Never hear anything about him ever since, right? ADB can say he wants to go and do different books all he wants. Listen. That is your magnum opus. That's what you should be doing. That's what you should be working on. But no, you want to go and write about the Emperor's spears. Be still my torn, gaping heart, please. Ridiculous. Number 6. Speaking of Night Lords, Jago Sevitarian. Apparently he's alive. He's one of the most powerful space marines in the entire galaxy. What's he doing? I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? It's just a really cool story that we just left hanging there. I guess we're going to go do some more Ultramarine stuff now, right? Number 7. Magnus Mortarion. Actually, any traitor Primarch. Anything they do that is not to do with Rabute Guilliman, Games Workshop have no interest in showing you. Absolutely none. Even the Arcs of Omen that Angron was in consisted of Angron walking up to a light bulb and headbutting it until it went off. And that was his story done. Brilliant. Fantastic. And this brings me back to the point of, do we actually want Games Workshop to develop and finish any of these stories if this is the kind of thing they do to them? Here's one of the biggest ones. Lionel Johnson. You bring back one of the prime essential Primarchs, one of the best ones, one that is better than Guilliman in everything that he does ever. And what does he do? He walks around a mind forest. And redeems some of his sons, completely invalidating 10,000 years of Dark Angel's lore. And then what? Nothing. Nothing. Just nothing. He's there now. Buy the model. He's there now. It's cool, isn't it? Yeah? Dude, I'll bring this up later, but when Guilliman came around, right, we got a trilogy of books for him. We had entire campaigns, like the Konor campaign, the Charon Crusade, the Indomitus Crusade. All of these things happened. Lionel Johnson comes back, and what does he do? Walks around a forest. It's not even a real forest, it's in his mind. And he redeems some of the fallen. Next, Fabius Bile and anything he seems to be doing. Next, another big one. The Inari of the Eldar. What are you doing, Games Workshop? Games Workshop literally invented an entire storyline for the Eldar that the payoff for this storyline was giving the Imperium back a Primarch. Yeah. Literally. The entire storyline of the Inari was giving Guilliman back a Primarch. And you know what they did? The typical Games Workshop thing. They said, oh, it's an open-ended story. Why? Because we need to get these Chrome Swords to, make Inari a thing. Okay, where's the last one? On Slaanesh's lap. Ha ha ha! I just don't... I can't. I can't with the game. If you're an Eldar fan, I don't know why you're still here. Your models must be stupendous in your eyes, because I don't know why you would still be here. It's pointless. Utterly pointless. They're never going to finish any of your stories. And even the ones that they do finish have to have Guilliman in them. So, what's the point? Right? The best character they've introduced for your faction ended up being a lap dancer for Guilliman. Moving on. The Silent King. Don't think I need to expand on that one. And Gazkul. Don't think I need to expand on that one either. Unless he's coming across Ultramarines or Space Wolves, nobody cares about Gazkul. Nobody ever hears about Gazkul. Nobody hears about what he's doing. Or the Silent King 2. Nobody cares. They're introduced to be punched in the face by Ultramarines and maybe Space Wolves, and that's the end of them. The list is absolutely endless, and it touches on all parts of the Warhammer 40,000 setting, as you can see. Games Workshop introduce grand ideas and set pieces, and then just leave them hanging. Never to be tied up, and never to have any sort of payoff, and I will be honest, these days, I am thinking this is literally done for two reasons. Number one, they seem to think people are stupid. That if they end a story or give an arc an ending, then that will make people want the models based on those stories less, as they are not the current new hot thing. That is idiotic. Horus Heresy is very popular and sells just fine. It literally saved the company when it came out. I know, I was there, and we've known its ending for 30 years now. The trick is to write good stories, make us interested, and the money will flow, even if you end said story. Okay, not all of the Horus Heresy was great, but the parts of the Horus Heresy that are good were really good, and people wanted to collect armies that were from those books. In fact, the money flows better now, as we know you will not just abandon things we like to tell another story about Rabute fucking Gilliman. Number 2. Linking into the first point but on a more serious note, Games Workshop are terrified they might upset anybody but the most niche of their audience. Have you noticed how it's always the less played armies that get the boot when it comes to core lore losses against other factions? You can have Joe Space Marine smashing the head of an Eldar avatar off, or a Space Wolf moonwalking over the Inquisition like it's nothing, but don't you dare give Grey Knights or Chaos any sort of stories that actually end. No. The most insulting thing is that they tend to use the books of other forces in the library to kiss the arse of their chosen factions. Ultramarines saved the Blood Angels from the Tyranids on Baal in their best book of the last 30 years. Was that really necessary? The Grey Knights playing second fiddle to the abhorrent Space Wolves in a book literally about the Grey Knights. Games Workshop are terrified of upsetting the audience of their core popular armies, and this wouldn't be a bad thing if they were isolated and in their own place. But such armies infect almost every other story they ever tell. Games Workshop will never finish stories with the big boys in them. Quite simply, they fear the money tap being switched off if they do. So if you see a Space Wolf or an Ultramarine in your story, congratulations, you are now playing second fiddle to that faction, and that story will never end for you. It will end for them, but it will never end for you. They will get a nice ending, and then they're on to the next thing, right? They're on to the next thing. So their stories never actually end, because they have lots of chapters that end, right? An entire story of the Eldar in the Inari was a chapter of the Ultramarine story that ended. But the Ultramarine story itself will never end. It'll keep going and going and going and going and going. Because Games Workshop love that money tap. But the Eldar, an entire faction, one of the most iconic 40k factions, their entire story recently was literally just one chapter of the wider Ultramarines arc. That's wrong. We are at a point now that when I see a character from one of the factions in the list above turn up, I only read the book because I like 40k out of obligation, because I know it will not conclude properly, especially Ultramarines or Space Wolves, as I've just said. If one of those forces rears its head in a story not about them, your story is never getting a concrete ending unless it involves one of those two factions saving the other characters in the story and being generally badass. I am being serious. It happened in The Emperor's Gift, it happened in the Devastation of Baal, and it keeps happening. Both of the reasons Games Workshop don't finish stories link back to the central premise of this video. Games Workshop are simply scared that ending anything in Warhammer 40,000 will cost them money. and that is a pathetic way to handle an intellectual property. This entire approach and stagnation, it leads to frustration and eventually apathy from your audience, who don't see a point in investing in something when it's never actually going to go anywhere. What does anything matter in Warhammer 40,000 if none of its most interesting beats actually reach a meaningful conclusion? I have Dark Angels fans that I know that were absolutely stoked to see the Lion coming back, and now they're just confused and angry. As I said before, by now, Gilliman had several books dedicated to him, entire campaigns were based around him, and he got to reshape the galaxy at his own whim. I'm not saying the Lion should have done the same thing for the Imperium, because that'd be silly, but a whole trilogy of blockbuster books should have been ready to go the moment his model and reveal dropped. There should have been a trilogy of books and a campaign set around his return. That doesn't involve the bloody Ultramarines or Space Wolves. It's just Dark Angels finding the Fallen and fighting everybody. To leave threads like this standing because you don't want to rock the money boat is shameful and shows a complete lack of responsibility as guardians of this setting that we know and love so much. Games Workshop, please, grow some fucking balls and start killing off multiple surplus characters. End entire plot lines to usher in new and more exciting ones in massive campaigns and book series. The Warhammer 40,000 universe is literally endless. It has a limitless supply of stories that keep being produced, so use them, please. You sitting there doing nothing is akin to me getting all of these hobby nightmares and then never reading any of them out. You are not conserving your money by pandering to the same old stories. You're leaving money on the table. Get out of your own way or allow others who know better to finish your stories for you. You have ADB there, you have all of these writers there who wouldn't mind going back and finishing their trilogies. The Black Legion books, right? Finish those. Finish the Black Legion. Finish, the Night Lords, right? You need another trilogy of Night Lords, showing what Decimus is up to. Dude, we need all of these stories to be moving things forwards. You have enough resources at Games Workshop to be firing on all cylinders to make sure that your lore is pushing out in all directions. I don't care what size erection Gilliman has this week. I don't care. I could not care less. Literally. Please, take some of the energy you spend fapping off to Ultramarines and Space Wolves and people like that, Space Marines in general, and if you took 10% of the energy and put it to the rest of the forces combined, we'd still get a nice moving forwards of the narrative, so where everybody's happy, everybody's getting books, everybody's getting new codexes with new lore in them. Stop regurgitating lore from 25 or 30 years ago in new codexes. How dare you? How dare you? Don't pay for codexes. They are a scam. The rules never stay the same, right? They're always changing, so they're useless for that. And all of the lore that's in them is from 30 plus years ago. Don't buy codexes, or you fuel this machine that has no interest in telling you anything you haven't heard ad nauseum for 30 plus years. Sick of this, man. This property could be the biggest thing in the world, because 40k, as I said before, it has all of the tools. There is nothing that feels like Warhammer 40,000 in the world. Nothing. And that's why I say when people say, oh, 40k just copies Dune. No. It takes aspects of these different things. I have no problem admitting that. Absolutely. And I have a go at 40k for that all the time as well. But the way it combines them into a cohesive whole that is its own thing is a masterclass in how there's nothing new under the sun, and it's okay to take other people's ideas and warp them into something different by combining them. This is a gorgeous setting that so many people know and love for that precise reason. So guys, Games Workshop, stop letting it stagnate. Alright? Cool. I'll see you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.